Okay, you're on.
Hey, late night from Willowdale. Sorry, we've done 3 videos now within a couple of weeks, but this is a short one. No 30 minutes. Sorry about the long video, 30 minutes, the last
Sorry for
one.
the torture,
The
everybody.
torture, yeah, I didn't mean to torture with all my views with, what it got from Saudi Arabia to Trump to Doug Ford, whatever. We get tonight with the Kinder Morgan court decision on Kinder Morgan. We thought we'd do a short video because, it was Khalid who called me up and said, "Hey, the court ruled against Kinder Morgan, the pipeline, the Trans Mountain pipeline that would go from Edmonton to Vancouver, or to Burnaby, as it were, a suburb of Vancouver. Um, the pipeline expansion. I'm, Cleet said something to me. He was a big fan of stopping it, and he was happy that the court ruled against it. Doesn't mean that the expansion won't eventually happen. Uh, but it made me think, so many people are opposed to it. And I was a supporter. I thought one pipeline expansion can't be the end of the world, And don't get me wrong, I understand climate change. We've been living in it in all across the northern hemisphere this summer, okay? From everywhere, from Japan to Europe to North America, the extreme heat, wildfires. We've all been living climate change. As the New York Times said about a month ago, 2018 is where everyone's experiencing climate change. And I get it. But I didn't think one pipeline expansion from Edmonton to to a suburb of Vancouver was the end of the world. Um,
Well, it isn't just about the pipeline. I mean, the whole system around it, right? Like, I mean,
yeah, yeah. And so the bottom line is, this is going to be a quick video. I support the pipeline. Canada's a resource, Canada produces resources. We need to get them to market, and oil, we need to get to tide water, as they say. Uh, so I supported it, and Cleed and many others didn't. And the project is stalled right now because the court made a decision. But so I guess this video is not about uh, are you for the pipeline, are you against it. This is a video is about democracy is messy, and the federal government, the Trudeau government, supported the pipeline, and they bought it, and now it's all stalled. But democracy is messy, and the courts are part of our democracy, and we have same-sex marriage in Canada because of the courts. And the court said no. So now it'll be appealed, and where it'll all go, who knows? I think it eventually will go through. But they raised all these concerns, whether it's indigenous rights or the rights of orcas or killer whales. I like to call them killer whales. It's kind of nasty. Orcas, right, Clete? Orcas?
or I like orcas.
Yeah, and we call them killer whales. They are a top predator, by the way. They even kill sharks. Uh, so it's on hold right now, and that's I'm a big supporter of. I'm not. I'm a supporter of this pipeline, but the fact that it's on hold shows you that democracy works, and the judiciary is independent of the government, and that's a good thing. And that's also a good thing in the U.S. We've seen the courts hold up Trump's immigration stuff, and so it happens in Canada, it happens in the U.S., and that's a good thing that our democracy still work despite all the different things going on. So that's the video I want to make uh, quickly. Yes, I think this Canada needs to get its resources to market. Yes, we need to be aware of climate change. We've experienced it. Uh, I don't think the expansion of this one pipeline uh, would be the end of the world. I get it. We want to phase out fossil fuels, uh, no question. But you know, we also need right now. The world still needs fossil fuels. Airplanes still, cars and airplanes and whatever still need oil. Okay, as far as you know, you know, a 747 or an A380 or a 737, they're not solar. They can't fly on solar power. They still need uh, fuel, oil. So oil still is part of the economy, and Canada produces a good chunk of it. So we still need it. We still need to get it to market. And the oil economy in Canada is 10% of Canada's economy, so it's important. I understand phasing out over time, and there already might be too late for the world, anyways. So, but what I want to say in this video is that Canada is a democracy, and the courts ruled, and we'll see where it all goes. And democracy is messy, and it's good to see it in action. And I am supporter of the Kinder Morgan expansion. Clete isn't, and but it is what it is. What I don't like to see from a lot of people on the left, though, is hypocrisy. I know in Ontario, when the McGuinty and Wynne governments, the Liberal governments, now gone, try to implement the green energy program, windmill farms, solar, and all that, there's a lot of opposition, even from the left, even from the NDP. You know, a lot of NIMBYism. A lot of the same people who hate pipelines hate windmill farms. And you know, you got to ask yourself, okay, you know, we got to get our energy from somewhere. 50% of the energy in the Greater Toronto area comes from nukes, right? From Darlington and Pickering. In fact, 50% of Ontario's energy comes from nuclear power plants, and I don't think that's the future either. But I do believe that, you know, we'll phase them out over time, and I have no problems refurbishing them until they can't be refurbished anymore. But let's not build any new ones. But yeah, Doug Ford is basically dismantling the green energy program, Premier Doug Ford in Ontario, and that's not a good thing. But I don't see any outcries of opposition, not even from the NDP, because the NDP never supported it in any ways. The NDP hates pipelines, but they hate windmill farms, federally, provincially, whatever. So, you know, there's no coherent energy strategy in the provinces, federally, whatever. Canadians got to have a conversation. Where are you going to get your energy from? You know, it's a cold country. You need to heat your homes in the winter. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of air conditioning, despite this incredibly hot summer. And let's face it, there's more stress on the grid in the summer than there is in the winter. That's amazing for a cold weather country. There tends to be more stress on the electricity grid in the summer because of air conditioning than in the winter. So that tells you something. But Canadians need to have a conversation. Okay, you don't like pipelines. You don't like windmill farms. You don't like solar farms. You don't like hydroelectricity projects. Don't get me wrong, they have their own problems. But, you know, you want to turn your lights on, and you want to fly places, and so you need a bit of everything. You need a bit of, so I'm sorry, you need oil. Oil is still an important, we still need oil, and we still need, as an economy, the 10% of the Canadian economy is the oil industry. We still need to get it to market. And yes, over time it'll be phased out. But on the other hand, you need windmill farms and alternatives. And why in California, every new house is mandated to have solar panels on their roofs. That should be happening all across Canada. So yes, I like pipelines, but I'm a big fan of alternative energy. In our co-op, where I'm speaking, in our co-op, we have solar panel units on the roof. I'm a big fan of alternative energy. But a lot of the opponents of alternative energy are people on the left. And so there's a weird thing going on here. So Canadians gotta ask themselves, you know, Where are we going to get our energy from? Okay, we don't like pipelines, but we don't like windmill farms. So, I think I think the Kinder Morgan project will eventually go through the expansion. It's an existing pipeline route, it's just an expansion. But I think it was a good idea to do this. Now the federal government's in a position. I feel bad for Rachel Notley in Alberta because she's in a no-win position. This clown, Jason Kennedy, who's the opposition leader in Alberta, who used to be cabinet minister. Jason Kennedy used to be a cabinet minister under Stephen Harper. You know, he has no solutions about how to get Alberta oil to Tidewater. He just needs to blame the NDP. That's just so pathetic. You know, Rachel Notley deserves to get reelected. She's in Alberta. She's done everything. She believes in alternative energy, believes in windmill farms, she believes in carbon pricing and all that. And yet, she's going to get blamed for the fact that they can't get Alberta oil to Tidewater. That's just the nastiness of politics. There's no... Just like Kathleen Wynne was blamed for everything in Ontario, you know, it's unfair. It's totally unfair. I don't, and I'm not a big fan of all these carbon pricing, cap and trade stuff. I think a lot of that stuff is just facadism. I do believe if you want to make a difference on the environment, don't over air condition your apartments, your houses. Don't drive if you don't have to. Travel less. Little things you can do. Don't own a second home like a cottage. You know, there's little things you can do to make the planet a better place. So
those shipping container houses go for $10,000.
Yeah. You know, the same people who oppose pipelines live in huge homes, and they travel a lot, and yeah, the hypocrisy right? of people, and when it comes to the environment, is incredible. Okay, that's it. This was supposed to be a short video, and I've rambled on again. All I'm saying is democracy is messy. Canadian democracy is healthy by the fact that the court ruled against the pipeline. I'm supportive of the pipeline. It'll all get sorted out. But remember, there's a lot of hypocrisy when it comes to environmental and climate change policy. Well, I could go on again about Saudi Arabia, which I liked. It's my favorite point. But the New York Times had an editorial the other day on Saudi Arabia, talking about oil, right? Outlining their atrocities in Yemen. And there are atrocities everywhere in the world. As we know, Myanmar, the Rohingya. Saudi is a favorite topic of mine because they get a pass on their atrocities. And the Saudis are using U.S. weaponry and U.S. bombs to kill. They just had another airstrike on kids. It killed lots of people. You know, this is one after the last one I mentioned in the Saudis are committing atrocities in Yemen, and a lot of children are being killed, and nobody pretty much goes without comment on the world stage, because Saudi Arabia, yeah, we've already talked about it, but it's important to note. And the New York Times this week had an editorial outlining of Saudi atrocities in Yemen, U.S. weaponry being involved, and again, I say, Canada really let's not have relations with that country. Okay, that's the video. The bottom line is, like, to wind up. Yeah, it all comes down to oil, right? Energy policy is very difficult, particularly in a country like Canada. Democracy is messy. This decision, as much as I support this Kinder Morgan expansion, I understand it, and I'm thinking, you know, democracy is at work here, and we'll have to figure it out. And Canadians need to have a conversation about where their energy comes from, and they have to realize, you know, compromises have to be made. And yes, climate change is definitely happening, but let's have a conversation. That's it, Cleve.
Okay, a good way to end the video too.
Yeah.